No changes, Madam Chair.
And this is the time for public comment. Do we have any comment slips?
And I don't have any comment slips for you.
All right. Then moving on to the notices that the Lease Review Subcommittee scheduled for Thursday, July 9th was canceled, and that the July 9th, 4 p.m. Airport Commission Secretary duly posted this agenda on the bulletin board. Moving on to the...
Madam Chair, may I make mention of just one thing? You didn't do anything. I'd like to recognize Commissioner Griffin for her appointment as the president of the Santa Barbara Zoo Board and our service to our community. And I'd like to also recognize yourself as a 2008 honoree into the International Forest of Friendship, which is quite an honor, as the honor is given to men and women who are dedicated to leadership, friendship, and support in the field of aviation, and also those that support and contribute to furthering aviation. Plus, there are other qualities as well, but it's quite an honor. So, congratulations to both of you.
And that brings us to the consent calendar. Do we have any additions or changes? Anybody like to take any of the issues separately?
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the consent calendar carries. Liaison reports?
We have no liaisons in attendance.
Okay, thank you. And moving on to administrative reports.
This evening, we've been talking for some time now about our new website development. And this evening, Terry Gibson and Lynn Houston will be making a presentation to kind of show you where we are at the moment with our new website. We'll be going live in the next month or two. This month. Okay, we are. Okay. I was going to give you a little leeway. So anyway, I thought they could take you through it, and if you have any comments, at the end of the presentation, you're welcome to give them to us now. We'll also give you a way to get into the website so that you can look at it at your leisure, and then we'll give you Terry and Lynn's email, and you can email your comments to them. Go ahead, Terry.
Okay, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background to start out with. As you can see on the screen, this is our current website that was developed in 2003. Before that, we had a website that was developed in 1997. So we've had a website for 12 years, although it seems like longer. I guess we're so attached to the online access that we couldn't do without it today. The airport website is considered an official website by Google, which is the best browser that we use, and we have the most people coming through the website through Google. So being an official website, we have all different listings. There's 6 different things up there, like flights and airlines and things that people can click directly on. Because it's listed as a favorite for many people, they don't often go through the home page. Our number one page that is viewed is the flight schedule. Far and away, that's what people come to look at the website for. So, need to put on my glasses, sorry. The goal of the project was to keep the website relevant and keep pace with the rapid internet changes. Also to meet the current visual needs and navigational needs that people expect when they go online. The back end also needed to be updated just to keep up with the security codes and things that were needed to keep hackers from getting into our website, which has turned out to be a little bit of a problem in the past few months. In order to solicit for the website, we sent out an RFP and we got a national response to it. There were 12 different proposals that were submitted and 6 qualified firms were interviewed by a panel, including our webmaster, Scott Nelson, who's here this evening, who's going to talk a little bit about the back-end technical aspects. Lightmaker was selected. They are out of Orlando, and they were selected because of their high skill, level in the technical background, the backup, as well as our visual accommodations. And we wanted a wow site, something that was world-class for the airport. Let's see. We began this project, believe it or not, last July, and we are now just getting it ready to go. We've had some other things come up, some other priorities in the marketing division, but we feel like we want to go out there with the best site ever and be totally prepared. So in terms of what's different, there's a completely new look and feel to it. There's a different color palette, different page templates that are much more easy for people to recognize and navigate. And there'll be project information for the terminal project, which will also include a webcam, which will start in the fall when the foundation for the terminal goes into place and people can actually watch the progress of the project. There's also a lot of new graphic design and photo images. Lynn, who is a professional photographer, has taken a lot of these photographs, so it really amps up the site. And you can see just from looking at this homepage how wonderful and how exciting it is to have a new web page coming up for us. We also have a new content management system, which was customized by Lightmaker for this site so that anyone on our staff can look at their manual and be able to update it. Although I believe Lynn will be the one who's doing most of that work. She does a great job. She has spent hours and hours uploading content and images to make this site really super. So also what's different is we've added more content to the web page. Karen also wanted to put an emphasis on general aviation, not just commercial aviation. So we've added, you can see the category at the top we've added there. The other thing was we wanted people, no matter how obscure the information they were looking for, that they could actually find it in 1 or 2 steps instead of having to go through pages and pages to find what they wanted. Of course, at the top there we do have the custom search as well. And in addition, there'll also be statistical data. That's something that Hazel really wanted on there. When other airports want to look at our information or airlines, they can have it at their fingertips. Also, we have people out in the community who are very interested in what our passenger statistics, air freight statistics are on a monthly basis and annual basis. Also, we're going to have, instead of just contact us where you go to a website, we're going to have most of our staff members who are management and supervisors listed on there so people can go directly to the source for information. The other thing that's new, which we have to do, and Scott recommended it, as a public agency, we have to have accessibility. So why don't we start there, and then we're going to start at the top and go down. The font size, you can choose a font size depending on your readability skills. So the accessibility will be there for all those disabled people who need access.
Disabled?
It's not just font size.
Can we choose which font you want to see tonight?
The one that we can see.
Yeah.
All right, and also at the top there is our content. And these are all things that are required for the web page, and especially being, like we said, a city page. On the top left there is our logo. And the logo, which Lynn tells me this, Scott tells me this, everyone will know that that's, if you're into the site, you can press that and go back to the home page by clicking on that. There's the weather, current weather in Santa Barbara, current time and date, and then we have the Google custom search.
Which is currently not live, but will be.
Right, we're still in this is the preview stage. So we have new categories across the top, which all have drop-down menus. Very easy to navigate. You can see exactly what's in that section. And once we go through the home page, we can go back to some of the bells and whistles and look at some of the things that Lightmaker's created with a database. The banner there is 8 different photographs, and it begins with dawn at the airport. This is further into the day. But what we were doing is depicting a day at the airport and try to represent all the different aspects of what goes on here, not just commercial service. So this is a slew, and then we've got a private pilot. This is the tower cab. And we've added, Lightmakers added some animation so that it's not just a static photo. It phases in, and this is the cockpit, commercial aircraft coming in for landing at night. And it'll switch to our dawn at the airport. And these are all composite photos that are put together to be especially visually pleasing and draw people into the website. That is an actual pilot for SkyWest. One of Lynn's friends, she used to be a pilot for SkyWest. This is one of our beautiful regional jets. And this is depicting general aviation aircraft, vintage aircraft, and then the aircraft on the right was one of the aircraft that was used during the Gap Fire hydromulching. And this was actually the arrival of the Dalai Lama a couple months ago. So now we're down to the flight schedule. Like I said, this is the most looked at page on the website. It's going to show all of the arrivals and departures too. You can look at it in all the different formats that you can now. And you can also print it out as one page in case you want to just take it with you somewhere and be able to have all of the information at one glance. We have a flight tracker. And you can choose any destination, any of our non-stops, and track one of the flights, either arriving or departing. That isn't exactly live yet, so like preview stage, here we go. And this is a line where we've added, this is a calculator for people to determine the cost savings or just to be able to compare between Santa Barbara, leaving Santa Barbara and LAX. A lot of times people just use the fare rather than the entire cost of what it would take to fly between or drive between LA and here, and just flying out of the airport. So we're trying to give them a quick glance at what it would actually cost. And then they can determine what their time is worth.
Will they be able to know what parking fees are, et cetera? By going in there?
I think, Lynn, they've calculated that into.
Yes, we can.
It's automatic.
Use the travel under the parking, how much, oh, that's a day, that's wrong.
I was going to say $48 a day would
Yeah.
we'll make a lot of money.
Yeah, no, this is so, yes, this would, actually, we should probably put in, already have it in here, so when they do calculate it, they know the difference.
Right.
Because see, look at the, we still see, tremendous amount of flights
And what you might do is not only mileage to the airport, but time. I think time to the LAX airport is an interesting feature.
So people can calculate what their time is worth as well. When it gets expensive for people, I think, is when they have large families and it adds up. But this is just a way for them to get a quick look at the true savings that they could achieve. And what we've done below that are the three, other than flight schedule, the three things that people most inquire about. And second is parking information. I say that our front receptionist answers questions about parking more than anything else. So we've included in this link, there we go. We've got parking lot diagrams that have rollover features, so they can get the rates. And we've got the current configuration up there, and it tells the different payment options as well. And then because the terminal project is on everyone's mind, that is front and center as well. And then, of course, and that, again, like we said, that will have the webcam up in addition to all the other things. What people are looking at here on the airline terminal project page is mostly the schedule for the project. But this is the current terminal area layout. We've got the rollover effects as well as the arrows, which we're finding people need on the roadway.
For sure.
Not everyone's used to the new loop road access.
We're going to call it the Hook Road.
The hook road.
People like to go both ways now.
And then, of course, what's new is our news releases and then any events that we have coming up. And, of course, our most recent event was the World War II Memorial dedication. And we just click right back. And we are now on Twitter, and we found that that is an excellent way to communicate with people. They love it. I'm sure everyone's familiar with it. It's a social networking device that people are using 140 characters maximum. And whenever we have a special and need to communicate with people quickly, we use that as well. So this is our Twitter page.
The governor.
Oh, yes. During the latest fire, Jesucita fire, Governor Schwarzenegger came to town. And when he visited, he came through the airport, and he logged on to Twitter to follow the airport. So people come and go, but we found that there's a huge variety of different people that follow the airport. And the more that we have up there, the more current it is, the more people are following the airport. So
So the governor's on our Twitter list.
the Gubernator, yes.
Oh, he does? I have no idea.
Say what? Oh, there we are.
Looks like his teeth whitened.
I think the next thing we'll put on Twitter will be the fact that right now to Sacramento, people can fly $49, $59 one way if they fly in the morning. So that's almost like a Southwest fare for people, trying to encourage people to use it during the summertime. And this is our nonstop destination map. If you roll over the pins, you get the city. And then you get the detail at the bottom, the length of flight, the destination distance, 908 miles. You can view the schedule. And then on the right there, Lynn, is that even more detail on the weather and different aspects?
Yes, it'll take it probably to nonstop destination, to take it to the airline that serves that. So you go
Oh,
to the
right.
airline.
Okay, so we're going to link to the airlines as well. So there's going to be different ways to link into from different aspects of the airport website.
Terry, do we have enough or few enough? What I'm thinking about is putting the departure times very briefly next to the destination so that somebody who looks at that initially sees immediately that there's something that, I can go to Denver 3 times a day, at 8, 10, and 4 or whatever it is.
Well, that's a great idea. We can do that very easily.
Because that's what entices people to say, oh, I ought to use Santa Barbara because that time would work for me.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And in some of them, obviously, Los Angeles is going to be a couple of lines long, but I'm just thinking if you just strung out the times so people could see them.
Yes, we'll work on that. You're right. Los Angeles would be 9 different lines, and San Francisco would be 7. But yes, definitely. We're also trying to promote the fact that it's not just the nonstop. You can go worldwide, one stop through this airport. And then, did you have any other bells and whistles you wanted to show off, Lynn?
For the general aviation, and this is where we hope all of you who are into that at this point in your life will give us some input as to the different kinds of information we can put up there. This is just a very sort of a shell of what it is.
Fuel prices?
That's an ever-changing.
We have others,
No.
there are other websites that do a really good job.
That's true.
Send them to Aaron and have.
Is our noise abatement stuff going to be on there?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and people can still,
Can they click on the map and see what would be handed to them?
Oh, that's good.
If Chuck were here to hand it to him?
No, that's a good idea to put it there. Yeah, that's very good.
and they can still register noise complaints online. And then Tracy's also thinking about putting the noise tracker up for people to view. That will be a new thing.
The GA section, I would like to have, right now, like Lynn said, it's more or less what we had on the old site, but I'd like it to be a lot more robust. So if you have suggestions that would be, things that would be useful to the GA community in terms of information, other than fuel comparison charts, that I would really like to get that kind of feedback, because I would like it to be really useful to the GA community.
I could think of two things, a runway diagram, and if you could include the winds and the weather, that could also be helpful.
Oh, the current winds?
Yeah.
ATIS?
Yeah. I mean, there are other sources that we would check before flying, but it's kind of a nice curiosity.
Just sort of, yeah, click on and say, okay, what's the weather?
Yeah.
Or the phone number for the ATIS, because you can call it on the telephone and listen to it.
Is that really
Sure.
You have more people calling it to find out what the weather is here. It's one line.
Or put maybe more pilot kind of
Yeah,
information.
taxi chart, or anything that is preferred, if there, for example, if I wanted to fly here, and where would I park and where is transient parking available?
Yeah, if I may, the taxi charts and that sort of thing are available about 250 places. The interesting stuff is when you look at an aircraft diagram, they seldom tell you even where the FBOs are, things like that, where it would be really interesting to do the genuinely local stuff, the local knowledge.
Okay.
Because there are plenty of ways to get to the airport and get the basic weather and that sort of stuff. That's, we know that, but
And also on
the
the
local information would be really good.
on the noise abatement, there's for some reason it's typically very hard to find the preferred noise abatement diagrams for many airports. A lot of airports have them. For some reason, they don't make them their way into any of the other publications or the websites. So you can get the official approach plates and all this and that, but you have a noise abatement diagram.
It's on our existing website for people to
Yeah,
download.
and hopefully it'll be there. Yeah, great.
With a big pilots click here to indicate, this will bring up the picture of it.
Oh, that's good.
Because a pilot looking at this is going to have to read through all this. No, if there's a big button I can click, because that's what you want them to get to. I would say also, if once we get our self-service fueling facility, some info about the use and the access and the lack of access to the street, so that how you can deal with it and if it has hours and what it accepts. Because if there's nobody to call, or is there somebody to call on the phone and talk to about it if you had some special requirement?
Yeah, that's good, though, to have whatever information we can offer. Okay, well, you'll have more opportunities, like I said, when you get the address to be able to go in and look and play around with it. And
One observation I'd make was you said the most frequently bookmarked page is the flight schedule, and what that means is a lot of people just go there and that's all they look, and you've got a big space over on the right. It might be worthwhile to push the news into a small window over there, because the people who just go look at the flights aren't going to go back to the home page, or you need to be able to push that out to them if, terminal relocation or whatever the news thing you've got
Right.
going on.
I think the news is a good idea. In addition, we're also going to have spaces. It's not showing up right now, but there are spaces on each page for ads.
All of this.
So we have the ability to change that. And I really like the idea of putting the news block on there as well. That's great.
We have Bruce here, this is the information guide will be on every page. We could also perhaps put the news, a link to the news on every page, if that's what you're saying when we go to the...
Yeah, I think it's more important. The links are up there even on the top, but if people just go, if they're accustomed to just going in and looking at that one thing because that's the only thing they think they care about, you need to get those headlines out to them there.
Well, that's
because it's just a click away to go to the news, to go to the homepage, but unless
Sure.
unless there's a tickler or anything, unless,
Right. Draw them in a little bit more.
That we want them to know.
right.
And also on the homepage, you'll see that we've got Kayak, which is a way for people to go in and book their flight right away. We have received a lot of comments from people that that's what they're interested in as well. So this is subject to change too. We can also go with Travelocity or Expedia or whatever happens to be the best way at the time. But currently, this is what we're using.
How about on that site where you've got Kayak from City or two, if you did a default from being Santa Barbara, and they can change it if they go in, but if you're trying to push flying from here, let's start them out.
Right,
Santa
right.
Barbara there.
Exactly.
Do we have a historic site? I mean, I happen to like old airport pictures, and I don't know if that...
Yes.
I think it would be fun to put a whole group and click through a whole series of maybe what the air... Don't we have on one of our brochures the various stages of the airport through the years?
We do.
That would be fun.
And that's on here as well.
And then we want also to collecting information on all the local aviators for streets in our memorial. I'd like to add a lot more into the historic.
We have the memorial ceremony here, and then all the plaques that are at the memorial.
You wouldn't, I know, shocking.
So yes, well, we're going to have Ms. Ramsdale's the history buff. We'll put a lot more into it.
When I retire, then you can take it off.
Do we have any of our aerial photos? Because I think those are interesting things, like that photo behind Hazel.
Yeah, I think that would be good. We have a series of them starting, I think, 1934, and they are fun. I mean, they're really...
Oh, yeah, and I'll look at that now, but yes, well, we could do that. In fact, we could put them on this area here. We could have a series of the aerial photos on that would be really interesting.
Yes, you're right. When we go out to trade shows or we go out and do public information presentations, that's what people are drawn to, are the aerials. You're right.
Now, you mentioned advertising, and I noticed you also have Flight Tracker in there, which basically opens up a window to somebody outside of your control to present things kind of on your website, and you're having that window into Flight Tracker. So what procedures do you have in place to ensure that the content, like in the bottom of Flight Tracker, they've got their big old advertising space down there. What procedures do you have to ensure that that content is appropriate?
Well, currently we're just doing our own advertising, but if we do open it up to someone else, we have to go through a selection process for that, and it has to be tied to travel. It just can't be any sort of item. It has to be something that is appropriate for an airport website, and people would actually be interested in. It's kind of like the Conference and Visitors Bureau. They have partners that they asked to advertise with them, and their hotels, or we even participate on their website as well. So it would all have to be relevant.
And we'll develop policies and all that to go with it.
Yeah, I'm just, like the Flight Tracker there, I mean, they've got their own advertising in there, so you don't have a direct relationship with their advertisers. Your relationship is with them.
Oh, but I see what you're saying. But so we're advertising their advertisers on our website. I get what you're saying.
Which may not, in all cases, be appropriate. Your audience.
Right. And we went with Flight Tracker because it's free, and it's something that people are interested in,
Oh, it's very
and
cool.
it's
And,
top of the line.
The website's very clean looking and really neat.
Thank you.
Do we have the option to put in our own advertisers into Flight Tracker's box, or do they provide their own?
That's why it's free.
No, what I was talking about was, can we add to it if we have somebody
If
local?
we pay for it. We can get into Flight Tracker and do all of that if we pay for it. So yes, we can. It costs money.
Okay, before we take up an entire hour, Scott, do you want to make your comments on the technical aspects?
Hi there, I'm Scott Nelson, webmaster for the city, and I'd like to speak to the technical aspects of the website. hosted at Landspeed, the current internet host for the city or the FlySBA website. Hardware is a 2.66 gigahertz Intel Xenon CPU. It's a virtual private server, which means that we're the only entity on that server. That gives us quite a bit of heightened security, meaning that only services that are necessary for the SBA website will be enabled. The software environment is far more secure than the existing environment. There's a staging site that's separate from the public site, so that content can be tried and then approved before it goes live. Technically, the OS, the operating system, can be patched separately on our schedule, so we can make sure that we have always the most current security patches. Once the site has been transferred and is stable, Landspeed will provide what's called server hardening services, so they will close up anything that we aren't using, basically, as far as services go. The site's based on Microsoft .NET 3.5 framework. We're using Microsoft Windows Server 2008 and SQL Server 2008. So we're using the current technology. Bit about the content management system. Lightmaker has a base content management system which they provide to their customers. This content management system was customized for the airport specifications, again using the industry standard Microsoft .NET 3.5 framework. .NET is highly extensible, meaning that as new services come about or new services are identified that want to be added to the site, it's doable either by going back to Lightmaker or even using vendors in town. It's a universal programming framework. Thank you.
Question on the Lightmaker platform there, even though it's based on .NET.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like it's basically their own content management engine. Is that something you're licensing on an annual basis, or do you have rights on it such that if you and Lightmaker were to part ways or they were to go out of business, you maintain the use of that content management system?
That's an excellent question. Yes, we do actually. We will receive what's called the solution file, which is the file that's the source code for the website. This website is actually compiled like a program, like Word or something you'd run on your computer, which is another reason it's a little bit more secure than most websites. But yeah, we will have the ability to rework and add to
So
the
basically
website.
you'll have all the source for that. There's no components that VBA libraries that they've got that you don't have the source for. You'll have all everything that's there.
That's correct. Very good.
And is there a redundant server, or is it really just depending on being able to put the virtual, rehost the virtual server in the event of a hardware failure?
Landspeed is taking care of all the server backups. They have the ability to recreate the server if, for some reason, the entire server environment were to disappear, say. We're backing up the database separately, so we have all the data itself. And we'll keep the source files, copies of those, on the city PC network servers. So we will have the ability to completely rebuild the site to its state any given day.
So there isn't a redundant, there's not a standby.
No. No. Good. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Which brings us on to the director's report.
Did we, can I back up just one second? How do we want to communicate the link for them to go on?
I'll send all of you via email the link, and then you can look at it, Nick.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Well, our passenger count for June, compared with June of 2008, was down 8.2%, and we're down 12.1% year-to-date. Tara gave me some interesting statistics. While we're down 8.2% in June in passengers, we have 16% fewer flights and 9% fewer seats than we did a year ago. So we're not doing, as bad as it sounds, because we don't really have much more capacity to build on. San Luis, in terms of total flights, is down about 33% from where they were a year ago. And the other airports in the Tri-Counties really are not significant in terms of market share of in the Tri-Counties. So I thought you might find that kind of interesting. The other thing I wanted to bring up or point out was the self-service fueling project. The MAG Aviation, who will be the owner, operator, developer of the station, has filed their application with the city for the construction of the fuel farm or the fuel facility. I spoke with the Coastal Commission staff person who was preparing the report for the zoning change, so that seems to be underway, and hopefully it will go to Coastal Commission in August. So things seem to be moving. Anything you wanted to add to that?
No.
Okay. The other item was the T-hanger, the airport's T-hangers. We're down on our list quite a bit, and so we will be doing a new lottery at some point in the next, I think, few months. Is that correct, Rebecca?
Yes.
Okay. So we've kind of gone, pardon?
How many openings are there now?
I think we're
3 current openings, but we only have 9 names left on the waiting list. So once
Right.
those 3 are filled, we'll be down to less than 10, which is the point at which we set.
which is the trigger for doing a new lottery and filling our list again. So we've gone through them fairly quickly. The economy has certainly helped that, which is not a good thing. I didn't mean to make it sound like a good thing. Let's see. Our rental car quick turnaround facility is coming along quite nicely. If you have the time to drive over to Love Place, it's across the street from the recycling center. The solar panels are up in the parking lot, which are, I think it's kind of cool. And so that project should be done towards the end of August, correct?
August, early September.
Early September. So that one's moving along. And I think that was all I was going to point out, unless you have something. Oh, I want to talk about the terminal. That's a big project. Right now, the contractor is getting prepared to do the soil conditioning for earthquake purposes underneath what will be the building pad when the building is built. So that we should start seeing large equipment working over there fairly soon. We're ordering more signs. We're figuring out that people still, especially that don't use the airport very often, aren't getting around quite as efficiently as they need to. Also, some more arrows on the roadway. As Tracy said, people are doing U-turns in the middle of the loop road and going back the opposite direction and doing some kind of interesting things. So we just need a little more guidance out there. And then the parking equipment, where the Amano company has representatives here this week, and as well as AMCO, who is our parking operator. And they're working feverishly on trying to resolve the issues with the automated pay equipment. We're going to meet with them on Monday, and see where we are and see what their kind of diagnosis is of the problem. I know that I've used this type of equipment in, many parking garages in big cities, and they work just fine. So it's something related to our location. It could be that the connection between the short-term entrance-exit and the long-term entrance-exit and kiosk is wireless, and that could be part of the problem. That's what Hazel and I think. Our amateur diagnosis. But I don't really know. And so, anyway, they're working on it. We've told them that it's just the companies that it's unacceptable, the situation as it is. So, anyway, well, stay tuned. Hopefully we'll get it squared away quickly. So if you have any other items that are on the director's report that you'd like me to speak to, I'd be happy to.
I have one question regarding the fencing for the terminal project. Are they going to do any peepholes in the fence so people walking by can see what's going on? Because I know that's always kind of keeps up interest. Or
That's an option. The engineers were saying that you can see through the fencing more, or the mesh stuff, more than they thought you could. So if people need a better view, we could do the holes in the mesh, because that's what they had originally intended to do.
Or does the webcam or any of the website play in the terminal so that people can actually maybe see what's going on a screen in the terminal? Maybe a webcam focused on the construction or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we do that, but we could figure it out. I'm
just trying to keep their interest up.
Yeah, no, we might be able to connect it with the digital advertising displays that are in the hold rooms.
Or even in the hold room, have the website or certain pages of the website repeat, which would let people know it exists and encourage them to use it in the future.
Right. Oh, have we told them about Wi-Fi?
No, probably not.
Okay. We are, I didn't want to repeat myself. Our Wi-Fi beginning when?
That's when
You
we
think?
do it.
Oh.
A couple of weeks, I'd say, August.
Okay, a month, maybe. Why don't you give cushions? We deal in big numbers. Yeah, the fall. Will be free. Our city's information systems will be taking over, being the manager of the system, and so we'll be offering it to the user free. So that will make many people who write us comment cards that it should be free happy.
Great, good to hear.
A couple items. First, on the T-Hanger lottery, I'd just like to reiterate my comments in January 2008. This is an agenda item, so I don't expect we'd be discussing it, but I think I'd like to ask it to be added to the agenda or the General Aviation Subcommittee. I still believe that a lottery is really not the most effective use of city resources, and I don't think it's the best customer service. Certainly getting the lottery now, because that's what everybody expected, is fine. I think that the waiting list should then be just maintained as a waiting list, and everybody who applies for the lottery should be on the waiting list. I think you're going through a lot of extra activity to maintain this, and again, I don't think it's the best public service. People have to wait for an indeterminate amount of time to hope to see an advertisement for a lottery to apply, when most people simply would expect to be able to just come to your website or contact you and get on a waiting list. So I really would like that either be discussed here or the GA committee to take that as an issue.
We plan to have a GA subcommittee between next month.
And I'll be happy to
It's-
forward my comments from 2 years ago.
I'm sure we have them.
I'm sure you do.
It's up to commission whether you'd rather do it at a GA subcommittee or just have a general discussion at a commission meeting.
I would believe that it would be most appropriate in the GA subcommittee.
Okay.
And I'd also like to ask that as you prepare to do your lottery, that you keep very good records of how much time you're actually spending on that, because I cannot imagine that conducting a lottery, setting up advertising, dealing with inquiries, that whole process could possibly be less than a staff day, if not two. And again, and that goes into my feeling that you could do it more efficiently going forward. And I totally agree you've got to do the lottery now, but in the future, I just don't think it's the most effective use.
It'll be up to commission.
It'll be interesting to see if we get enough people to fill our slots next time the lottery occurs. It may well obsolete itself.
Yeah. And on another note, an item I didn't see in the director's report, I hear our director is doing a presentation on Saturday. Maybe you'd like to share with us.
I am. I'm making a presentation to the Santa Barbara County Genealogical Society. One of their genealogist members, and I have been doing research on the local aviators that are on our memorial. So my presentation will be about the memorial and a little bit about the Marine Corps Air Station, and then about the local aviators. So it's been really fun. I've really enjoyed researching it, but it's also been intense in terms of time taken to get these little bios. But it's interesting because we've also had family members and friends of the local aviators that have kind of come out of the woodwork. One of the ladies that will be attending is the sister of John Donaldson, and of course we have a street named John Donaldson. And she lives here, lives in her family home. She's elderly, and she's going to come to the presentation. So it's going to be quite fun.
And that's, as I recall, 11, Saturday 11?
Around
is that right?
then,
At
yeah.
the Presbyterian Church?
Right, the Presbyterian Church on Constance and State Street.
Any chance you might have it videotaped?
I don't know if he'll videotape it, but I could also, I'll have my presentation. It'll be a PowerPoint, so
Maybe.
And
Yeah.
will there be a link to that on the new
We'll stream it.
website?
we'll stream it.
There's going to be Twitter in the morning.
Turn to the History Channel.
Well, ideally, if you wanted to link some of the information that you've uncovered and about the pilots and the aviators and that sort of thing here in the history section, that would be ideal.
Right, and one of the whole purposes of starting this was to have some pictures and a little short bio for each of the 49 aviators. And I think I'm through H in the alphabet now.
You've gone to H, you said?
H. So, but anyway, yeah, to put it on the website. So, anyway.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
We're good.
You can hit it with the gavel.
Yeah.
Do I hear a motion?
I move to adjourn.
Okay, I think we're adjourned.
It's a wrap.
I didn't even bother with a vote.